Today we have Debbie Friend with her laughter yoga business. Can you give an introduction about yourself and your career?
Sure. My name, as you mentioned, is Debbie Friend, and Friend is my last name. I teach laughter yoga to groups all around the Chicago area. Laughter yoga, for those of you who don't know what it is, it's laughter exercise combined with gentle breathing techniques, and it teaches the body how to laugh without relying on jokes or humor. You don't have to be happy, you don't have to be in a good mood, and you don't have to have a sense of humor. The motion creates the emotion, and we say that you fake it till you make it. At this point in time, with everything that's going on, everyone can use a little laughter yoga.
Definitely. And I am so excited to personally try that. I'd never heard of it before, as I told you.
Yeah, that's
So,
amazing. It's practiced worldwide.
really?
Yes, it started in India in 1995 by Dr. Madan Kataria. He was looking for ways of alleviating stress, and he was living in Mumbai, India. Wanted to test out the theory, is laughter really the best medicine? And instead of just writing a paper on it, he wanted to try it out and started a laughter club, got a number of people together in a park. The first week they told jokes, and the jokes were funny. The second week, they already knew the punchline, and the jokes weren't as funny as they were the first time. And by the third week, the women thought that the jokes were very sexist. But what he found was that the laughter was contagious. And when one person was laughing, other people started laughing as well. His wife is a yoga instructor, and she said you have to incorporate breathing techniques in there. And that's how it got the title of laughter yoga. The yoga part is the breath work or the pranayama, and that's what connects the laughter to the exercise. And even if you don't laugh, but you breathe deeply, you still get a lot of benefits from the exercise. He was basing his work on Norman Cousins. I don't know if you're familiar with Norman Cousins. He's way before your time, but he wrote a book called The Anatomy of an Illness. And he was diagnosed, I believe it was in the 1960s, with a condition that was terminal at that point, but had a very positive effect and was in the hospital. And when modern medicine couldn't do anything more, he checked himself out, put himself in a hospital room, took massive doses of vitamin C, and also was watching comedy nonstop. What he found was for every 15 minutes of mirthful laughter, he was able to sleep pain-free for 2 hours. And this continued until he eventually was cured of the condition. Laughter has a
Oh
number of
my
positive
God.
benefits. So this is what Dr. Kataria did, and now it's practiced worldwide.
Wow, both of those are such cool stories.
Yeah,
Mm.
it's everybody feels better after they laugh.
It sounds like Dr. Kataria was at least the inspiration for laughter yoga. Did you have a personal inspiration to start it or any other role models you've looked up to along the way?
As far as for laughter,
And laughter yoga, yeah.
I have been laughing my whole life. I love to laugh. I love to smile. It's part of who I am. Years ago, was in the 1990s, somewhere around there. My father had gotten sick. He was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. My mother also developed Alzheimer's. I was in a bad marriage at the time and looking for ways to get out. I had nothing to laugh about anymore and was just trying to feel human and alive with some way that I could do this. I was writing for a few local publications and was invited to a laughter yoga session by Dr. Kataria in a local health club. The first time I went, I didn't have any idea what they were doing, thought it was really bizarre. And I said, I'm never doing this again. These people are weird. And then fast forward a few years later, my father passed away, and I was looking for some kind of relief, something that wasn't going to change what I went through, but just a way to deal with it. And there was a local laughter yoga class that was being offered at my library. So I went to it and I found that I was able to laugh and feel better in the moment. And it didn't change the situation, but it changed how I was able to cope with it. So a friend of mine a few years later said, hey, you want to train to be laughter yoga leaders? And without thinking, I said, sure, why not? And we actually signed up a man from California. His name is Sebastian Gendry, who's been very influential in getting this around the United States, came and taught the class. And the way he was describing things, that you can't always control the situation you're in, but the one thing you can control is how you respond.
Yeah.
And that really resonated with me. And I found that, yeah, I can't decide what's going to happen, but I can control what I'm going to do about it. And that was the influence to get me started, was Sebastian Gentry and how I teach, and I follow the way he teaches. And it's an interesting phenomenon. People hear about it and they think it's so goofy. And when you watch it, I don't know if you've watched any videos, it does look a little bit goofy, but I ask people in the beginning of the session to close their eyes, take a deep breath on a scale of 1 to 10, rate how they're feeling, with 1 being, ugh, I couldn't feel any worse, to 10 being, it doesn't get any better than this. And then I ask them just to hold it to themselves. And at the end of the class, I ask them to reevaluate. And everybody always feels better in some way.
I bet.
So to be able to go to work and change people's lives, not forever, but at least for that moment, and have them leave feeling better than the way they walked in, to me, there's nothing better.
There really doesn't seem to be, and I'm getting more and more excited to try this.
Well, they're local. Like I said, they're all over. There's classes in California, on the web, all over
I
the
bet
place.
I'm gonna sign up after we talk. What would you tell a girl who wants to start a company, but she feels like she's too young or too inexperienced?
I say go for it. No, I don't think you're ever too young, too old, too inexperienced. You have to start somewhere. And
Mm,
if you have an idea that you want to put out there, why not? Why not go for it? There's really no reason to hold yourself back. Start with what you can handle in the beginning, and you can always grow from
exactly. I couldn't agree more.
there.
And in your opinion, what would you say is the most important first step in starting a company?
I think the very first step, and you're probably hearing a lot, is passion. Love what you're doing, because you have to feel so 100% about what it is that you want to sell or put out there, that other people want to get it from you as well. And as long as you have that within yourself, other people are going to catch on to that and want to be a part of whatever you're selling or promoting. So having that passion, having that desire, having that I can do this, and going out and making it happen.
Definitely. It all starts on the inside for sure. And what would you say are the top 3 skills a girl needs to be a successful entrepreneur?
Okay, I call these the 3 P's. That you have to have patience, perseverance, and persistence. It also starts with the passion, but knowing that nothing's going to happen overnight, it's going to take time. Knowing also that just because you have this great idea and you want to share it with everybody, everybody might not be as receptive as you are in the beginning. Having that perseverance to keep going, even when some days it doesn't look like anything wonderful is going to happen. I also have a saying that no means not yet. Just because you get a lot of no's in the beginning, it might not be the right time, or you might not be talking to the right person, or things can always change. So just because you get a no doesn't mean that it's a no. It means that it's not yet, and there's things to work on. And then as far as persistence, keep going at it. Keep going at it. If something didn't work, take a step back and look at why it didn't work. And maybe there's something that needs to be tweaked, or maybe it's the wrong audience, and just get back up and keep going.
Those are all great. And I love that saying, no means not yet. I've never heard that before.
Yeah, it's like, it just because someone told you no, it might not be the right time, or they might not be the right person, but it doesn't mean that it's no.
Right. That's great advice.
Thank you.
And can you give a little behind the scenes of the most useful tools and platforms you use for your business?
Well, obviously the computer's not one of them for me.
Luckily.
I'm very hands-on, and before the pandemic, everything I've done has been live and in person. whether it was through the phone, making phone calls, going to networking meetings, reaching out and talking to someone. Because I believe, and I heard this and it's true, that people do business with those that they like and trust. And when they get to know you and see what you're all about, they're more likely to hire you. Um, that's been my platform. I'm just learning how to get more on the internet and try to do Zoom sessions and reach out to people this way, as this is going to be the new norm going forward. So I would say that to me, it's the live talking to people, meeting people, getting to know them, experiencing what I do. I That's how I've gotten my business. And what I found is it's a long process. I can make a contact with someone and it might not happen that I get the job for a few years. So it's a matter of, again, keeping in their face, calling them up on a semi-regular basis, sending them an article or something that just to keep you in their foreground of what's going on. So I don't know if you call it a platform or something online, but that's how it's been. I'm learning now, and I'm learning a lot from your website. So all the things that you've posted on there on how to make it online has been wonderful. So
Well,
you're doing great work, Isabel.
thank you. I'm so glad it's helping. What you said, no matter how old you are, what you have to learn, there's always more to learn.
And I don't know if you've ever heard the expression, when the student. Have you ever heard that expression?
Sorry, you broke up a little. What did you say?
I said, have you ever heard the expression, when the student is ready, the teacher will come?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And what I've been finding is that now that I'm ready to take things online, all of a sudden I'm getting so much information brought to me on how to do it. So again, it's just being open to all the possibilities and change, because that's the only constant, is that things
Yes.
will change.
Exactly. As an entrepreneur, I'm sure you've experienced lots of ups and downs. So, what have you found to be the most difficult or disappointing part of being an entrepreneur?
I've noticed it, especially this year, as I was saying before, it takes a while from the initial contact to when you can actually book a service. And I spent several months talking to a local college and a senior center, and I was just getting my foot in the door where we had set up a date and time to do programs. Then the pandemic hit and everything shut down. But I'm learning, like I'm saying, learning ways to re-navigate the system, reinvent myself to go forward with this whole new way of life. So it's a disappointment, but I also believe that everything happens for a reason and happens when it's supposed to. So if I keep that in mind, then everything's right. And I might not understand it right now, but there's a meaning behind it. And at some point, it'll all make sense.
Well, that's a great attitude. I'm glad you're the laughter yoga instructor.
And when in doubt, laugh.
Always. And on the flip side of that, what do you think is the most rewarding part of entrepreneurship?
Oh, the most rewarding part is having an idea and watching it grow and materialize. And then when you go out there and you present something and people love it, what could be better than that? There's nothing
Exactly.
better than that. And it gives you the momentum to keep going when things don't always work out.
Right.
So it's
How
the
do
gift that
you,
keeps
Mhm.
giving.
Yeah. How do you handle the gender gap in the entrepreneurial space?
I haven't really noticed it from what I do.
Mhm.
People, it's not affected me as much as maybe someone else in what they're promoting. I think that what I do is gender neutral.
Yeah.
And when I go out and promote how you can feel better and how you can improve your life, that just benefits everyone. So I haven't personally been affected by
Well, that's great.
that so far.
And how do you address diversity in your workplace?
Again, I work with a very diverse audience. I teach programs to a wide range of people. I've worked with the special needs community. I've worked with adults who have Alzheimer's disease. I work with people who are out of work. I work with cancer patients. I think that this is something that's universal. The laughter everybody understands. It's a language that everyone speaks. And you don't have to understand whatever your native tongue is. And once you get that and you look at someone and you smile and you laugh with them, you're no longer strangers. So it really breaks a lot of barriers.
Wow, the work you're doing is all so wonderful. It just keeps getting better.
It does. It's how, what can you ask for better than to meet a group of strangers? And I never know how a session's going to turn out when I haven't met these people before, and to go into a room and everybody's looking around like, should I laugh? Should I not laugh? And at the end of it, everybody knows each other and everyone's friends. And to walk away from that on a daily basis, it's just so uplifting. That what more, with all the things that are happening now, and there's so much divisiveness in this world, this is something that brings everybody together.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what your background is, people are happy. So
Definitely. You're so lucky you get to do that every day.
well, at this point, it's not every day, but
Right.
we're hoping to build it back up.
Yeah. If you could go back in time to the founding of your company and give yourself a piece of advice, what would you say?
Don't worry. Don't worry. It's all going to work out. The tough times are going to happen. Embrace them. Look to how it's going to work out for your benefit. I think back to Thomas Edison. Are you familiar with his story about when he was creating the light bulb and he failed? I don't know, depending on what you're reading, from 1,000 to 5,000 times. And when he was asked about it, he said that I have not failed 1,000 times. I have successfully discovered 1,000 ways not to make a light bulb. So even if what I was going to do, and I was very scared in the beginning of how am I going to go out and present myself as this expert in this field? What if people look at me and think I'm weird or they don't want to do it and I might fail? And that held me back a lot in the beginning. And I would tell myself, just go for it. It's the only way you're going to learn. And if it doesn't work out, it might not have been the right group. Get yourself up and keep going and move forward.
Definitely. And what has been the most satisfying moment as the leader of your own company?
Oh, well, just being able to find that client, go out, see everybody happy, and know that it's benefited their lives. And I'm also an exercise physiologist and used to work in cardiac rehab. And I'm also a certified personal trainer. But
Wow.
when you're exercising, that takes weeks before you're going to start to notice a positive effect, whether you're building up your cardiovascular system or trying to gain strength. This is an immediate response. You laugh, you got the endorphin release, you immediately feel better. And to be able to see that happening right before your eyes, what could be better?
Seriously.
Yeah. So the effects are immediate.
That's great. And what do you do to celebrate when you accomplish a goal?
I laugh. I'm happy. It's just like such an uplifting feeling to know that I've worked so hard at this and all the ups and the downs, and to get to that point, the feeling inside you can't beat. I think that's the celebration in itself, that someone else got the message that I'm trying to sell, they buy it, they believe it, and they want to keep doing it over and over. That to me is the celebration.
I can only imagine.
It's good.
And what is your favorite word?
My favorite word?
Yes.
Let me see. My favorite word. I talk a lot, so I don't know if you noticed that. I have several. I think just laugh at this point.
I bet. It really is the best medicine. So, speaking of laughter, my last question is, can you share a funny story from your career?
Well, actually, I think the one that I started out with, that when I think the moral of the story is never say never. When I wasn't even looking for laughter yoga and was invited to the session, I thought, these people Never, never. You're never going to catch me doing anything like this.
Yeah.
And never say never, because years later, this is exactly what I'm doing and love doing it, and don't poo-poo anything. I also have another funny story. It's not related to this. I also do health coaching, and
Mhm.
was in a session with somebody, and they were telling me how they don't want to lose weight and they don't want to do this and that, and they put their Fitbit on their dog, and they had the dog run around the backyard to gain.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, can your dog come to the phone? Maybe
Oh
you'd like to,
my gosh.
which also shows that when you want to do something and when you don't want to do something, you're going to find a way. So, but that was a
Seriously.
classic. I thought, wow, you, so when people want to do something, they're going to find everything and not make excuses on how to make it happen. And when they don't, they're going to equally go that route so that they could prove themselves right. I just thought it was so ingenious to even take the Fitbit and put it on your dog and have the dog go run around the
That's
backyard.
quite the idea. I haven't heard that one before, for
I
sure.
didn't hear that either.
Wow.
So.
Well, those are all of my questions. Do you have anything else you want to add or any last piece of advice for the girls?
I just say, if you're 13, I was reading your website, if you're 13 to 60 years old and you're starting your own business, that's just absolutely phenomenal. No matter what it is that you're starting out, the skills that you're going to gain from this experience are things that you can use the rest of your life. So I just say, go for it. I think it's wonderful. You must have very supportive family
Mhm.
who are
Definitely.
helping you, because you can't do this unless you have that.
Right.
And knowing that there's people that stand behind you and want to see you succeed is part of the process. So keep going, keep doing what you're doing. You're doing phenomenal. I love to
Yeah.
hear this. And it's a pleasure meeting you and talking to you.
It's so nice to meet you. I'm so happy we connected and I had a great time talking and learning about laughter yoga.
Thank you. And I've had a great time learning about sweet. That's amazing. I don't even know how you came up with this. And from what I was reading, you started this in June.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely amazing.
I
Keep
really
up the great work.
appreciate all your kind words and your advice for the girls. I can't wait to share the interview.